simply calling Max Eisenhardt, known to the world as Magneto, the master of magnetism, is basically reducing him to a parlor trick. In reality, he's an extraordinarily powerful mutant with the ability to generate and manipulate magnetic fields, and Marvel officially classified him as an Omega-level mutant in magnetism. He can pull the adamantium bonded to Wolverine's skeleton out through his body, manipulate the iron carried within a person's blood, reshape enormous quantities of metal, dismantle complex machines, generate electromagnetic pulses, and project powerful force fields. However, his power is not absolute. Magneto can become exhausted, lose concentration, suffer injuries, and encounter materials or forces that can resist his control. In today's video, we'll be looking at how Max Eisenhardt is able to reshape entire cities and, under exceptional circumstances, influence an entire planet through his mutation, and what wielding this power has cost him. Core powers. Metal, magnetism, or the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Before we try to understand Magneto, we really need to throw away the notion that he's just a metal bender, because calling him a metal bender is like calling Poseidon a water pusher. His mutation grants him Omega-level control over magnetic fields. Magneto has also manipulated electricity, visible light, gamma radiation, and other forms of electromagnetic energy on occasion, although those broader abilities appear less consistently than his control of magnetism. Ferromagnetism, the reshaping, pulling, and throwing of magnetic metals, is merely the most visible manifestation of his power. A breakdown of Magneto's abilities shows us several distinct layers of manipulation. First, the most basic manifestation of his power is his control over strongly magnetic materials such as iron, nickel, cobalt, and many forms of steel. He's not merely able to lift or bend these metals. His precision allows him to reshape girders, dismantle weapons, reconstruct machines, form armor, and control numerous separate objects simultaneously. He's also manipulated adamantium, advanced alloys, machinery, and certain materials that are not normally treated as strongly magnetic when the story is established that they possess magnetic or electromagnetic properties. However, it would be inaccurate to say that he can automatically control every metal simply because it contains microscopic traces of iron. Beyond direct metal manipulation, Magneto can affect the magnetic fields surrounding objects and environments. He can redirect metal projectiles, interfere with electrical equipment, create electromagnetic pulses, generate magnetic barriers, and levitate himself or other objects. His force fields can screen out physical matter in various forms of energy, sometimes allowing him to survive temporarily in environments such as deep water or outer space by maintaining a protective and pressurized field. These shields are extremely strong, but they're not absolutely impenetrable. Powerful opponents, psychic attacks, magic, surprise, exhaustion, and attacks that bypass his magnetic control have all challenged him. At his highest demonstrated levels, Magneto can interact with planetary magnetic fields. During Fatal Attractions, he unleashed a worldwide electromagnetic pulse that disabled technology across Earth. During the terraforming of Mars, he and Polaris manipulated iron within the planet and helped establish an artificial magnetosphere. He's also occasionally absorbed, redirected, or projected electromagnetic energy such as electricity and gamma radiation. Still, his official Omega classification applies specifically to magnetism. It doesn't mean that he has unlimited control over every wavelength of the electromagnetic spectrum or every form of matter in existence. Magneto's magnetic sight. Having so many powers naturally raises the question of whether Magneto perceives the world the same way ordinary humans do. And the answer appears to be no, not entirely. Magneto possesses an extraordinary sensitivity to magnetic fields. This allows him to detect magnetic materials, electrical systems, changes in nearby fields, and large electromagnetic disturbances that normal human senses would completely miss. Comics often present this sensitivity almost like a sixth sense. An ordinary person might see an apparently empty area, while Magneto may be able to recognize hidden machinery, power systems, metal structures, or magnetic activity within it. However, Marvel's never established that his brain operates as a literal quantum radar capable of mapping every atomic charge around it. He can't automatically detect every stealth craft from miles away, sense every movement inside Earth's core, or identify the mechanical action of every gun before it fires. His magnetic awareness can warn him about threats containing metal or producing detectable electromagnetic disturbances, but it's not perfect and it doesn't make him invulnerable. Non-magnetic weapons, ceramic materials, telepathy, magic, sufficiently fast attacks, and opponents capable of overwhelming his concentration all present serious problems. That still makes his perception extraordinarily useful. Magneto doesn't always have to wait for a metallic object to become visible before reacting. If he senses a strong enough disturbance in the surrounding field, he may be able to raise a shield or redirect an attack before it reaches him. Now, this leads us into the big debate within the power scaling world. At the height of his power, what's Magneto's strength level? Is it city level, planetary, or even beyond that? The true bounds of Magneto's power. To put his strength into perspective, Magneto has moved truly enormous quantities of mass. He's lifted submarines weighing many thousands of tons, moved versions of Asteroid M, manipulated gigantic structures, redirected spacecraft, and influenced planetary magnetic systems. During Fatal Attractions, he produced a globe-spanning electromagnetic pulse that disrupted technology around the world. During Planet-Sized X-Men, he worked with Polaris to draw iron through Mars and create a planetary magnetic field as one part of a much larger terraforming operation involving numerous Omega-level mutants. These feats demonstrate that Magneto can operate on a planetary scale under exceptional circumstances. However, they don't make him omnipotent. He did not single-handedly terraform Mars. Other mutants created its atmosphere, oceans, weather, terrain, temperature, and ecosystem. He also did not overpower the dreaming Celestial's armor. After M-Day, the High Evolutionary initially gave Magneto a technological suit that simulated his powers. Information obtained through the study of the dreaming Celestial later helped the High Evolutionary develop the dangerous procedure that restored Magneto's actual mutation. Magneto's energy output has also never been established as equal to the Phoenix Force. He's challenged Phoenix hosts and survived encounters with cosmic beings, but the Phoenix is a cosmic entity with powers far beyond ordinary mutant classification. Magneto has reached his limits on numerous occasions. Some feats require extraordinary concentration and leave him exhausted or unconscious. Pulling the Breakworld bullet back towards Earth, for example, placed him under such severe strain that he fell into a coma. So why is the lack of a clearly measurable maximum still important? Because it brings us directly to his official classification as one of Marvel's most recognizable Omega-level mutants. Magneto is Marvel's Omega-level mutant. House of X defined an Omega-level mutant as one whose dominant power is deemed to register or reach an undefinable upper limit within that power's specific classification. This doesn't mean infinite energy. It doesn't mean that the mutant can never become tired, injured, defeated, or killed. It means that Marvel can't identify a measurable upper limit to that mutant's dominant power or name a clearly superior mutant practitioner within the same category. For example, Professor X is one of the most skilled and powerful telepaths, but Jean Grey and Quentin Quire were listed as Omega-level telepaths. Magneto was officially listed as Omega-level in Magnetism. That doesn't mean no cosmic being anywhere in existence can exceed him. It means that within the recognized mutant category of Magnetism, Marvel has not defined a measurable ceiling to his potential, which is still insane when you stop to think about what that means. However, Marvel has never provided a detailed biological explanation for how Magneto's brain and nervous system safely channel magnetic fields at this scale. His cells have not been confirmed to store infinite electromagnetic energy, and his nervous system is not canonically described as expanding without limit. The Omega classification applies to the potential of his magnetic power, not his physical stamina. Magneto can still lose focus, suffer brain injuries, become physically exhausted, or collapse after especially demanding feats. His actual limits in a particular moment are affected by his health, concentration, emotional condition, distance from the target, and the nature of the material he's attempting to control. Long story short, Magneto's magnetism is powerful enough to earn him Omega-level status, but Omega-level does not mean invincible. When that power is pushed to its limits, how does it translate to the way his force fields work? The workings of Magneto's force fields. Magneto's defense is almost as impressive as his offense. His resilience does not primarily come from an indestructible physical body. Beneath his armor and shields, he still possesses a biological body that can age, become injured, and die. His defensive strength comes from the electromagnetic barriers he creates around himself and others. These fields can repel, redirect, stop, or sometimes destroy incoming objects depending on how Magneto applies them. If a bullet, missile, beam, or piece of debris is traveling towards him, the field may push it away, halt it, redirect its path, or cause it to break apart. The comics do not consistently explain this as Magneto removing all the kinetic energy or ionizing every molecule in the projectile. The exact mechanism changes depending on the story and the kind of attack involved. His shields have protected him from explosions, lightning, energy blasts, physical attacks, and hostile environments. They've also helped him survive temporarily in outer space and underwater by creating a sealed environment around his body. But these defenses are not absolute. They require concentration, and sufficiently powerful attacks can weaken or breach them. Psychic attacks can bypass the physical shield, Magic can operate outside the rules Magneto normally controls, and opponents have sometimes attacked before he could raise a barrier. The clearest point is that fighting Magneto does not simply mean fighting the man inside the helmet. It means fighting the magnetic field that he's constructed around himself. But if he's able to create fields that allow him to resist gravity and survive environments that would kill an ordinary person, how does that ability let him fly? Magnetism transformed into flying power. Magneto flies by manipulating magnetic fields around his body and interacting with local or planetary electromagnetic forces. Marvel rarely explains the exact physics. Descriptions such as riding Earth's magnetic field lines are useful analogies rather than confirmed biological mechanisms. He does not canonically become a living magnetic dipole or build a rigid, invisible scaffold under his feet. What matters is that he can generate forces capable of lifting and propelling himself without touching the ground. His control allows him to change direction, orientation, and speed while airborne. He can also carry other people, vehicles, buildings, or enormous metallic objects through the air. Magneto can use the same principle to pin people against walls or the ground, particularly when they're wearing metallic armor, carrying weapons, or standing near large amounts of metal. He can also reduce the effective weight of huge structures by supporting them with magnetic force. Magneto has repeatedly created, moved, repaired, or maintained versions of Asteroid M through a combination of his power and advanced technology. In X-Men #1 from 1991, he famously raised an enormous nuclear submarine weighing many thousands of tons out of the ocean. These feats show the scale of his control, but perhaps the most frightening aspect of Magneto is not the weight he can lift. It's what happens when he applies the same precision to a human body. Atomic-level power manipulation. This is where Magneto can begin to resemble a horror movie monster. The average adult human body consists of only a few grams of iron in total, much of it bound inside hemoglobin and other proteins. In several stories, Magneto has manipulated the iron carried within the blood or used magnetic materials inside a person's body to restrict movement. However, it would be an exaggeration to say that he can always seize complete control of anyone's circulatory or musculoskeletal system. His most infamous act of bodily manipulation occurred in X-Men #25. After Wolverine pushed him too far, Magneto tore the adamantium bonded to Wolverine's skeleton out through his body. This attack nearly killed Wolverine and revealed that his claws were naturally made of bone beneath their adamantium coating. This feat was especially effective because adamantium is metal and had been bonded throughout Wolverine's skeleton. Magneto's also manipulated machinery and metallic materials with no extraordinary precision, sometimes reshaping them down to extremely small components. However, the fact that electromagnetism governs chemical bonds in real-world physics does not automatically mean that Magneto can disassemble any substance into individual atoms. Marvel doesn't consistently portray him as a universal matter manipulator. His finest control is most reliably demonstrated when dealing with magnetic metals, conductive materials, electricity, and electromagnetic fields. He may perform feats that appear molecular under exceptional circumstances, but he can't simply reduce any object, person, or planet into a cloud of particles whenever he wants. His power is terrifying because of its scale and precision, not because it grants automatic control over all chemistry and life.
Charles! Ti prego!
Magneto's powers and physical limits. We've gone through Magneto's most terrifying abilities, but these powers could take a toll on the body. One of his greatest losses occurred after House of M, when Scarlet Witch declared no more mutants, and the overwhelming majority of mutants lost their powers. Magneto was among them and became physically human. However, you cannot keep a character like Magneto down for long. He initially appeared to have regained his powers in Uncanny X-Men #500, but the abilities actually came from a specialized suit created by the High Evolutionary. After studying information connected with the Dreaming Celestial, the High Evolutionary later performed a dangerous procedure that restored Magneto's actual mutation. This was outside intervention, not his X gene automatically repairing itself because the universe recognized him as an Omega-level mutant. Magneto has been depowered, weakened, artificially enhanced, and restored throughout several different mechanisms over the years. Another complicated issue is his age. Magneto survived the Holocaust as a Jewish child named Max Eisenhardt. By ordinary chronology, that would make him extremely old. However, Marvel's sliding timeline and his unusual physical history prevent his biological age from matching a straightforward calendar calculation. In Defenders #16, Alpha the Ultimate Mutant de-aged Magneto into an infant. Later, in Uncanny X-Men #104, Eric the Red restored him to an adult body. This allowed Marvel to preserve Magneto's Holocaust history without leaving him physically as old as he would be otherwise. It would also be inaccurate to say that Magneto routinely maintains an internal electromagnetic skeleton or uses magnetic waves to optimize his circulation and nervous system. He's used feats to support movement, flight, armor, and physical structures, but Marvel has not established that he constantly reinforces every bone and organ inside his body. The Krakoan era introduced another possible solution to death and aging. Through the resurrection protocols, the Five could grow a new mutant body while a telepath restored backed up memories, personality, and mental identity through Cerebro. That process did not conclusively prove that a metaphysical soul was downloaded. It also wasn't permanently guaranteed for Magneto. After moving to Arakko, he chose to remove himself from the resurrection system. So, even for an Omega-level mutant, death and physical limitations still matter. Traveling back to Magneto's past. The absolute key to understanding Magneto is recognizing that his powers and trauma are deeply interconnected. He's a Holocaust survivor who grew up as a Jewish child named Max Eisenhardt. He witnessed members of his family being murdered and was imprisoned in Auschwitz, where he was forced into the Sonderkommando and made to handle the bodies of fellow Jewish prisoners murdered in the gas chambers. That real-world experience of genocide shaped the foundation of his identity. Magneto does not look at anti-mutant hatred as an abstract political disagreement. He sees patterns that remind him of what he witnessed during the Holocaust: propaganda, registration, imprisonment, dehumanization, extermination, and the willingness of ordinary institutions to participate. His trauma leads him to view human societies as dangerously capable of repeating genocide whenever fear and political power combine. That does not make every conclusion he reaches correct. Magneto has committed acts of terrorism, threatened innocent people, and sometimes treated humanity as a single hostile group. But his fear is not imaginary. Sentinels, mutant prisons, experimentation programs, massacres, and attempts to exterminate mutant kind repeatedly prove that the danger he predicts is real. When humanity manufactures Sentinels, Magneto often decides that waiting peacefully is no longer acceptable. He attacks first, disables weapons, destroys machines, and threatens civilization by disrupting its magnetic field or technological infrastructure. His most heroic form appears when he uses the same power to defend a sanctuary for mutants. All those moments, his beliefs and abilities merge. Bending magnetic fields, stopping armies, generating planetary shields, or unleashing a worldwide pulse becomes a physical expression of his oath to prevent another genocide. Magneto turns himself into a shield for his people. The tragedy is that a shield can also become a weapon pointed at everyone outside it. Magneto versus other Omega-level mutants. When Magneto is compared with other Omega-level mutants, one major difference is the way he applies his power. Jean Grey possesses Omega-level telepathy, while her telekinesis is also extraordinarily powerful. Storm possesses Omega-level weather manipulation. Iceman possesses Omega-level negative temperature manipulation. Each of these mutants has an undefinable upper limit within a specific category, but none of them is automatically omnipotent. Magneto's combat style is intensely strategic and technical. He does not simply throw the biggest possible metal object at an opponent. He manipulates the battlefield itself. Weapons become useless. Vehicles become cages. Buildings become ammunition. Electrical systems shut down. Armor becomes a liability. His magnetic awareness may also allow him to recognize threats and machinery that other combatants would miss. Still, claims that he is beyond Omega level belong to fan discussions rather than Marvel's official classification. Breakdowns such as Comics Explains video may use unofficial language to describe the creativity and scale of his feats, but Marvel's canonical designation remains Omega level in Magnetism. What makes Magneto frightening is not a secret rank beyond Omega, it's the precision and experience with which he applies the power he already has. Visualizations in films and cartoons. Watching films and cartoons is one of the best ways to experience Magneto's powers as a visual spectacle. In X-Men The Last Stand, he tears the Golden Gate Bridge away from its foundations and moves it towards Alcatraz. In X-Men Days of Future Past, he lifts Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium and places it around the White House. And no one can forget his prison escape in X2 X-Men United, where he extracts the excess iron Mystique had secretly injected into a guard's bloodstream and turns it into metal projectiles. That scene should not be treated as proof that the film version could normally pull enough natural iron from an untreated person's blood to create weapons. That guard had been deliberately injected with with an abnormal amount. Even these film feats can seem smaller than some of Magneto's comic book accomplishments. The films usually focus on familiar objects such as bridges, stadiums, bullets, and metal bars because audiences immediately understand what he's controlling. The comics can push that idea further. During Planet-Sized X-Men, Magneto worked with Polaris to draw iron from Mars' core and help create an artificial magnetosphere. That was one part of a larger operation involving numerous Omega-level mutants, not a feat Magneto performed alone. The films present Magneto as an awe-inspiring force. The comics show that his power can become planetary under the right conditions. But even on the page, he remains extraordinarily powerful rather than omnipotent. Is this the end? When you line up Magneto's feats side by side, they create one enormous question. Has he reached the ultimate developmental peak, or could he become even more powerful? According to the Krakoan definition of an Omega-level mutant, his magnetic power has no measurable upper limit within its category. That doesn't mean he can automatically command every metal object across the entire solar system. Distance, concentration, physical strain, and the nature of the target still matter. One of his greatest demonstrations of range occurred in Uncanny X-Men number 522. Magneto located the Breakworld bullet in deep space by tracking the metallic signature he had previously memorized. The enormous projectile had carried Kitty Pryde away from Earth after she phased it through the planet. Magneto reversed its course and brought it back towards Earth, allowing Kitty to be recovered. The feat required prolonged concentration and left him comatose. That moment demonstrates both sides of Magneto's anatomy. His magnetic control can reach across almost unimaginable distance, but his body and mind still pay the price. Take the entirety of Magneto's history and strip it down, and you realize that his mutation is far more than standard metal manipulation. His magnetic anatomy allows him to go from bending a small weapon to influencing iron in blood, disabling worldwide technology, moving gigantic structures, and helping build a magnetosphere around a planet. The limitations he faces include concentration, stamina, physical health, distance, and the properties of whatever he's trying to control. It's a fantastic example of how a character's trauma can shape the way he uses a fundamental force of nature. From ruthless dictator to desperate survivor, teacher, revolutionary, protector, and leader on Arakko, Magneto remains one of Marvel's most frighteningly well-developed powerhouses. The laws of physics do not literally submit to him, but under the right circumstances, he can bend enough of them to make it seem that way. Thanks for breaking down Marvel's Master of Magnetism with us. If you enjoyed this exploration of the limits and specifics of Magneto's mutation, make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification button so you never miss another in-depth analysis. Let us know in the comments which character's anatomy, biology, and superpowers we should investigate next on Lore Lockdown.